our tagline is, you always knew there was a better way. These are the patients that are like, they're searching. They go to primary care and they're either being medicated or told there's nothing wrong with them and no other solutions. Now, I want to say that doesn't mean your doctor is bad. You don't need to believe them. There's no malice. I was guilty of the same thing. It's just what we learned in school. We're given a toolbox and we're like, go treat people. And we're not taught that there's other toolboxes available. So what the new method does is it's a different approach. We look at lab work differently. We do saliva testing. We actually listen to your symptoms because they actually mean things. And then we put together a plan to help you getting better.
Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, a podcast designed to encourage women to take their back of the napkin idea, launch it, and grow a wildly successful business. I founded We Wild Women, an entrepreneur training company, to help women like you, moms and go-getters, start the business of their dreams the right way. Not too long ago, I launched my $1 million agency when I was 8 months pregnant with my first son and welcomed my second son only 11 months later. So I know how to grow businesses and babies. Join me as I teach you the guiding principles and how to start and grow your business while overcoming the voice in your head screaming, "It's not possible." These raw and funny episodes will make you feel like you're right here with me, sipping on some Pinot and leaving more confident saying, "Yes, I can." Every episode leaves you with some action items and a real kick in the ass to get started. Here on Into the Wild, you'll hear from other trailblazing entrepreneurs and experts because I know that the best advice is from someone who's successfully done it before. So put your headphones on, grab a cup of coffee, and tune in because Into the Wild is about to begin.
Subscribe to my mom's podcast.
Hey, you wild women! My next guest owns and operates her own medical practice, EG Healthcare, which provides pediatric, adult, and geriatric care to over 20,000 patients. In addition to her primary care practice, she has taken conventional medicine to the next level with her signature process, the new method. The new method helps patients take control of their health destiny using a functional medicine approach that empowers them to finally realize that their symptoms are not in their head. As a result, she helps people optimize their health, prevent illness, reduce medication, and feel great. And let me tell you, she is a busy woman because she's also the co-chair of Staten Island Hospital Board of Trustees, serves as a president of the Nurse Practitioner Association State Board, is clinical faculty at Wagner College, primary care provider for the City University New York College of Staten Island Athletic Department, owns a medical scribe company called Hawk Scribes that allows providers to focus on their patients instead of charting, and is also a public speaker. Please welcome the incredible Dr. Efrat LaMandre.
The bio always sounds so impressive.
It is very impressive. And for those listening, they can't see this. The back behind her, there's an incredible sign that says, "Remember why you started." Yeah. I love that.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I really am.
Welcome to The Price is Right.
What is the price? Oh my goodness.
It's free.
Do I get to guess?
Zero. It's always zero. Just go with zero. Anyway, I'm so honored to have you here. What you're doing is incredible. The stuff you've accomplished already and just understanding, this conversation can go either way. We can talk about health or we can talk about business or we can talk about anything. And so I'm excited to see what's going to unfold. But first off, let's start off with some quick questions. The audience can get a chance to know you better, faster. You ready to go?
Absolutely.
All right. Where are you from?
Okay, so I was born in Israel, hence the first name Efrat, but I'm from New York in case you couldn't hear from my accent.
Woohoo! And what's your favorite quote?
So my favorite quote is actually tattooed on my left arm, and it's from The Fountainhead. And it's in a moment where the protagonist kind of speaks to a child that he never met before and is never going to see again. And the sentence, he told him something, and then he said he did not know that he had given someone the courage to face a lifetime. Of course, I changed it from he to she on my tattoo. She did not know she had given someone the courage to face a lifetime. And it's my favorite quote because you never know how you might impact someone with your words.
It's so true.
That is why.
And the truth behind this is that impact is so much larger than we realize because most people won't tell you that you've done something or said something that has inspired them, right? You only hear from the people that disagree with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They troll me on the internet all the time.
I love those people. I love them. But you have to think about it. The few that bubble to the top that actually have the courage to be like, you've inspired me or thank you for this is like, that's one of probably 20, 50, 100x people. They just won't say anything. So I really love that.
Yeah, they won't say anything, right? And so you don't know. And so that's why you really have to watch your words sometimes.
Yep. Yeah. Especially as a parent.
Yes.
Oh, like this morning I dropped the F-bomb in front of my son. He's like, you're the reason why I swear. I'm like, well, of course it is. Duh.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, so what is one of the best pieces of business advice you ever received?
Oh my goodness. This is especially true for women. Don't think small. And I have to say this, especially for women, because for many of us and your listeners, we never grew up with the possibility of where we're actually going. It's not in our reality. It's not anything we've been to. Like sometimes I look around and I'm like, whoa, how did I even get here? I never had a role model for it. And so it's hard to imagine. So there's a tendency to think small. Like, oh, I don't know if I should do that. I don't know if I should take that risk. Now, will I ever be this big? Yes, you will. Don't think small. Whatever you're thinking, multiply it by 10 and go. Mm-hmm. So that's the best advice I can give to my fellow women entrepreneurs.
I love it. Okay, so then what is one of your biggest business mistakes?
Oh my goodness. I was not prepared at these questions.
No, that's all right.
I don't know if exactly it was a mistake, but I was going to say one of the surprises. When I first started the business, my first business was primary care, e.g. healthcare. And it was really about the patient. Like I wanted to provide a certain level of care for whether you were insured or not. And that was kind of my goal. And what surprised me, what I didn't anticipate was how much the business was going to be about the team that works it. Because when I first started, it was just me, right? It was just me and like one front desk person and it was my vision and that's all that mattered. But then we started having a team and I realized that the platform, the business can serve as a way to empower the team. And suddenly the mission, and still to this day, becomes about the team. And I never saw that coming.
Oh, I love that you said that. It's one of the biggest learning curves and growth curves for any entrepreneur in their organization is all of a sudden realizing they're a leader. They're like, I didn't sign up for this.
No one told me how to do this.
Yeah. No one goes like, I'm going to start a business. The first thing they read is a leadership book. Nobody does that.
You're right.
Everyone reads a marketing book or a business plan book. But the moment you have your first contractor, your first vendor, your first employee, you're a leader. The moment you have your first client.
Yep.
And we fail to recognize that all of a sudden now people are waiting. They're looking up to you.
Yeah, be a boss. And then what are you going to do with your platform? And, over time, I've evolved the platform to be a safe haven for other women, place for second chance. So women who have been in jail, women who are rehabbed from drugs, we welcome them here. We provide like microloans to women because sometimes things happen and just need a helping hand. We help people go back to school. And that was never part of the vision. And now the vision has become about like, how can we utilize our profits and our resources to empower these women who are working to help the vision come alive. And it's been the most humbling experience ever.
I love that. You're a good person. So what is a book or a podcast or something you're reading or listening to today that you can recommend?
Oh my goodness. Did you read my bio? Do you think I have time to read? No, I'm just kidding.
No, but maybe someone reads to you.
I'm kidding. I listen to audiobooks all the time. I was joking. Mel Robbins. I just discovered her this year. I know I'm late to the game. So if any of you are like rolling your eyes,
late to the game. I'm rolling my eyes.
So late to the game. I know, but there must be some listeners out there who are also late to the game like I am. Really, really changed my daily practices. Mm. It's the 5-4-3-2-1 habit, especially around waking up. It has changed my mornings completely. There is no more snooze button. It's just changed my morning completely. So I recommend if you haven't read it, and you're late to the game like I am, go pick it up or have it read to you.
Read to you. And she is awesome on Instagram, her little clips and videos. And she's just such a lovely human being. I'll put that in the show notes. Now I'd love to know, because you have quite the CV of stuff you've accomplished and stuff you're doing. But right now, remind us, what inspired you to start your company?
Okay. So as I said, the first company, EG Healthcare, was really about creating space for patients to have access to primary care. And we did that. We not only take insurance, but there's a whole section of America that maybe doesn't qualify for Medicaid and doesn't have a job or other way to get insurance and need access to care and don't necessarily want to go to a clinic. A lot of hardworking people and a lot of women, a lot of women. I know there's like a mindset that maybe people aren't insured or just like lazy or bums, but there's a lot of women who are divorced, who no longer have insurance, who have a part-time job, who can't get insurance. So those affects a lot of women. And so we created affordable pricing for them to be able to come as well. And that was like the biggest mission with EG Healthcare. But the new methods, which is the integrative practice, was born out of a personal experience with my wife. She had an autoimmune issue. I won't go too much into detail, but she's in medicine. I'm in medicine. All our friends are in medicine. We couldn't get the answers we were looking for. They just kept throwing medication at us. So someone told us, hey, go to this functional medicine person. We had never heard of it. This was more than 10 years ago. No one heard of it. And we were like, okay, sure, but we have to lose nothing, but completely resistant to it. And he changed her diet and put her on supplements, and she was completely cured. So I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
We didn't learn any of this. Like when you're in any type of med school, there is no conversation between nutrition and autoimmunity, nutrition and skin. It doesn't exist. Autoimmune, you go to room, rheumatology, dermatologist, you go for skin, and there's no connection between the two. And that's what you're taught.
That's crazy.
It's insane. And gastro is gastro, and there's no connection.
What about all the connecting tissues and organs between all of these things?
You go to ortho for those.
Oh, of course you do.
Of course you do.
Yes.
And nothing is connected. And heaven forbid you mention nutrition, because it's like, it's fluffy, right? It's soft. There's not a lot of research around it, because who the heck is going to do research on the lack of milk, right? So don't drink dairy. Who's going to do that? So I realized there was more to medicine. So I started like doing some classes and some courses. And then I got my PhD in integrative medicine. There is a whole group of patients who just need more than primary care. And that's how the new method developed. So that's the long, short answer of it.
Okay, so now dive in deep. What exactly is the new method?
Okay, so to describe the new method is I would describe the classic patient that comes to the new method. So the classic patient tends to be female, although it's certainly open to men as well, 45 to 65. And the reason it tends to be female is because we tend to be more dismissed in medicine. So 45 to 65, and probably having a host of symptoms that are like, oh, what I call I don't feel good-itis. I don't feel good. And she goes to primary care and she's like, everything's fine, or lose some weight, or what do you expect? It's your hormones. Or just go exercise more, something along those lines. Or if she's really persistent, she's going to be told it's in your head, which is why I wrote a book called It's Not in Your Head. So that's patient number one. Patient number two is someone who already may have some diagnosis and is like, but do I really have to take all these pills? Is that the only way? And in the back of her head is saying there must be a better way, which is why our tagline is, you always knew there was a better way. These are the patients that are like, they're searching. They go to primary care and they're either being medicated or told there's nothing wrong with them and no other solutions. Now, I want to say that doesn't mean your doctor is bad. You don't need to believe them. There's no malice. I was guilty of the same thing. It's just what we learned in school. We're given a tool set, a toolbox, and we're like, go treat people. And we're not taught that there's other toolboxes available. So what the new method does is it's a different approach. We look at lab work differently. We do saliva testing. We actually listen to your symptoms because they actually mean things. And then we put together a plan to help you getting better.
I love it. And I have to say this, is preface this by understanding my place of privilege, and especially in Canada and who I am. But in knowing that I knew better when there was issues with me. And the first place I went to was my friend who's a hormone specialist and a nutritionist, and then my doctor. And then when we moved across the country to this, where we live in Kelowna, BC now, our doctor ends up having that same kind of ideology of like, let's see if there's anything going on physically. Let's up the supplements. Let's figure out the diet stuff, and then we'll go from there. But I did all the hormone stuff, like the Dutch test, and I'm like, whoa. And it takes like 3 to 4 months for things to be dialed in. Even then, it's like, it's kind of dialed in. I need to test again and see if it's really working. But once you figure it out, it's a lifestyle change, 100%. You feel so much better.
Yes.
And you're happier.
Yes. There's so much in what you said there just now. So first of all, yes, it takes time. And so it's not for every patient, because some patients would rather have the pill and maybe see like a lab change really quickly, or a pain medication for the pain. And so it's not for every patient. And I say this because it's not always like, oh, my doctor's bad. Some patients want different things. So for the patient like you said, You always knew there was something else. So you were searching, and you were clearly also willing to do the work, because work is involved with the patients that we work with. We insist on working with them for at least a year, because it takes time. Nothing happens in 30, 60, 90 days, like all those kind of quick fixes.
Unless you have like a Facebook ads funnel, they get some conversions in that time. But you can't
That's about right. That's exactly right. You can't do it with your health. And then the testing that you mentioned also is really important, because in the book I mentioned you don't necessarily have to do the tests first. Well, in my opinion, you always start with blood tests, because one of the first things I want to do as a provider is make sure there's nothing pathological going wrong, right? You don't want to say, oh, I'm tired. It must be that I have adrenal fatigue. And meanwhile, you're walking around God forbid with a cancer. So you always want to rule out a pathology. And then we do blood work to look for inflammatory markers, autoimmune markers. I love to start with a saliva test that lets me know how your adrenals are doing. And then what I like to say is clear the weeds before we plant the trees, which means let's clean up the diet. Let's get the supplements right. And let's see what we're left with, because 9 times out of 10, your symptoms are already gone. Even the ones that you thought were hormonal or mold. Or then if we didn't get 100% there, that's when I dive deep into testing, Dutch test, mold testing, things like that, because now you're working with a clean slate.
Mold testing?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, that scares me. I know. Oh, like this is all new to me, the mold stuff. We can talk about that after too.
Yeah, we could talk about it. But the point is, whether it's mold or anything, you want to get there last. Mm-hmm. You want to start with nutrition and supplements first, because you may never need that test. You could be positive for mold, but it doesn't mean you have symptoms of it. So clear the symptoms first and then do the testing.
So there's so much. And like, I love this because understanding like there's some parts of it where modern medicine is absolutely important.
Yes.
But what I love about this is that it's not always the first default place to go. And I love what you're saying. It's like, let's do the blood test first to rule out anything that could be something that a supplement can't treat. But then look at other ways of like navigating. So you work with women at that age where they are going into menopause, right? And that ain't fun.
Okay. Well, let's break that down. You mean 2 points, right? First is the integrated, right? That's why I like integrated, because should not be one or the other. Not everything is medicine, but also not everything is supplements, like you said. If I have pneumonia, I really do want antibiotics, right? Certain things I 100% want to treat with conventional medicine. And there's certain things I will do everything in my power not to treat conventional medicine. So you want, in my opinion, to have your feet in both worlds. Use all the tools available to you. Now, as far as hormones are concerned, yes, that issue is not fun. But a lot of the things that we attribute to hormones are also nutritional, right? So I'll give you an example. Like if I have someone in her 50s, slightly overweight, I mean that in terms of categories, not how you look. Everyone's beautiful in all shapes and sizes. This is just medical. And the reason I mention that is because the process of being overweight or obese will create a hormonal imbalance. So what you are thinking is your menopause can actually be secondary to adipose tissue, your obesity or overweight. So sometimes when we change the diet, reduce the weight, the hormones normalize and the symptoms that you experience normalize without necessarily having to delve into the whole menopause, postmenopause thing. And the other thing is sometimes people don't realize this is a classic thing. Women are saying night sweats, hot flashes, can't sleep, insomnia. It turns out it's the glass of wine that they're having every night at dinner. You have a glass of wine every night at dinner?
No, we don't want to hear this. No, we don't want to hear this. Don't take that back.
I'm taking it back. Was there a reverse button? There's the reverse button.
Pursuing big ideas, following your dreams, and taking chances can feel scary, especially if you're doing this all alone. That's why I created the Wild Collective, a community for women just like you who want to create, launch, and grow a wildly successful business. Whether you're just starting out or in a rut or aiming for the first $1 million in sales, there is nothing more powerful than surrounding yourself with a community of women just like you that want to succeed. Look, you can Google the answers to all your business questions and find some stellar content. You can vent to your friends, or you can lean on your neighbor for some business advice. But nothing compares to joining a vetted community of insanely talented and mindful women that are all reaching for the same dream, to live their life on their terms while growing a purpose-led business. In the Wild Collective, we host monthly expert trainings, group coaching from myself and other experts, access to a growing portal of incredible content designed to help bring your business to life and beyond, discounts to offers and events, and the greatest growing community in this corner of the internet. So if you're craving that connection and community, as a listener to the podcast today, you can gain early access to the Wild Collective. Simply pause this episode. Pause the episode, click the link in the show notes, and join us. I can't wait to connect with you and help you grow a wildly successful business. See you there. Talk about this, the night sweats. Okay. I was actually in a Prevention Magazine article about this because I was interviewed about non-hormonal night sweats. And I made my own diagnosis because I'm a doctor part-time. But is what happened was I was going through a very high period of stress in my life. And this was like, we were moving across the country and there was a bunch of stuff happening in the business. I actually got night sweats that started at night and would only stop just before noon. And I'm talking about like sitting on a Zoom call like this and sweat dripping down. You just feel from the inside, like it's like the inside radiating out. And I'm like, I remember my mom telling me this is what her like hot flashes were. And I'm like, I'm not even 40 years old yet. And this is happening. And then we moved here, we got settled and it literally went away. It was gone. And I'm like, oh, that was triggered by stress. But also in the meantime, I was cleaning up my diet, drinking more water, taking more supplements, right? So all these things are kind of balancing out. So the stress part's kind of gone. And now I'm really honing in on the things that I was consuming. And it changed everything for me.
Yeah. So the sweating and just this feeling that feels like hot flashes. I know, of course, there's a certain correlation to menopause, as you said. And then we were like, but I'm not even 40. But even for women who are in my age group in their 50s, it doesn't necessarily have to be that. And so I know we don't want to talk about the wine, but the classic kind of American dinner, and I'm not saying this is bad for you. If you don't have symptoms, great, awesome, continue on your merry way. I'm just saying before you think of hormones, if the classic American dinner is going to be like a bowl of pasta and a glass of wine, pretty wholesome, nice glass of wine, relaxing, fall asleep, everything's great. And then your night is wild. It's wild because that big amount of carbs that you had right before bedtime is now getting processed all night long. And you're getting these sugars, highs and lows all night long. Your body's like, has to process it. So it wakes you up, gives you nightmares, makes you sweaty. And so when we remove that, we make the last dinner like less carby and distance it from bedtime, at least by 3 hours. Suddenly my patients are sleeping like babies and no hot flashes. So there is a world of non-hormonal hot flashes. You are correct.
Yes.
And it's really nutrition based, especially that last meal. Also, if you're stressed, you tend to drink more coffee, afternoon coffee.
Yeah, I drink. Well, what time is it? Still not afternoon yet. We're good.
So again, if it doesn't affect you, that's fine. But I can tell you 100%, and since my late 40s, if I have an afternoon coffee, my sleep is very disrupted at night and includes hot flashes. And that's what coffee at 3 or 4, not 7 p.m. Wow. So what we put in our system in the late part of the day is really going to mess with our nighttime. And so before we run for hormones, and I'm not against hormones, I treat the body with hormones, but it's always the last piece before the nutritional piece.
So in terms of like food before bed, you're recommending to be done eating like 3 hours before going to bed?
Yes.
Okay.
For so many reasons.
Yeah.
But also, believe it or not, for Alzheimer's prevention. I knew you weren't ready for that one, so I want to put it out there.
Okay. Wow. So I did my 23andMe test years ago, and I signed up for the one where I didn't want to do the ancestry. I wanted to do my propensity for certain diseases.
Sure.
Found out I have a higher probability of getting Alzheimer's, which doesn't run in my family.
Okay. So we're probably talking about the APOE gene. For those listeners, if you go on my TikTok, which is the new method of Dr. E, I did a whole thing on APOE. And I love TikTok because I could talk for a long time. So there is a gene called the Alzheimer's kind of predisposition gene, APOE. And by the way, listeners, you can get it from any lab. Like it's not a specialized lab testing, and you just ask your primary care for it. If they don't do it, it's because they don't know what to do with the results. If you have a predisposition to Alzheimer's, this is what it means. Let's use the metaphor of diabetes for a second, because people can relate to that a little bit. If grandma had diabetes and you carry that gene, you are more likely to get diabetes, but you still have to eat your way there. right? You still have to eat the pizza and the ice cream to get it.
Yeah.
So if you don't eat your way there, you won't get grandma's diabetes. Conversely, if grandma doesn't have diabetes, no one in your family has diabetes, there's no genetic, but you eat so much pizza and ice cream, you will also get diabetes. So the same is true for Alzheimer's. If there's a genetic predisposition, Alzheimer's is called type 3 diabetes. You still have to live a lifestyle that will get you there. You'll just get there faster because you have the genetic predisposition. But if you don't have the gene and you still live hard, you still might end up with Alzheimer's. It might just take you longer to get there. So the gene, I test that on my patients all the time. The gene just means we need to double down and work harder faster because we don't have room to play. That's what I take away from the gene. I'm like, oh, we are fixing this insulin resistance. We are lowering this cholesterol. We are starting to exercise and we are doing intermittent fasting because in your genes, we have no room to wiggle.
Was that just a quick download on how to avoid getting Alzheimer's?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
That was a quick download on how.
Wow. Okay. Say that again.
Okay, yeah. I will. I'll say it again.
Okay, do it. Yeah.
Intermittent fasting with your last meal being at least 3 hours before bedtime.
Okay.
Very, very low carb. So very, very low carb because the goal is to achieve ketosis. I like to say it that way as opposed to going keto because going keto has like CrossFit carnivore undertones. That's not what I'm saying at all. So getting to ketosis as plant-based as possible. And notice that I said plant-based and not vegan. Plant-based means you still can have animal products if it's ethically within your wheelhouse, but that you're eating plants, colorful plants, whenever possible, not potato chips. Right? So plant-based.
Oh, that's count though, by the way, listeners. Potato chips on a Friday night.
It all
3 hours before bedtime counts.
Okay, let's talk about Friday night for a second. Because I tell my patients all the time, choose a night. Choose a night that's going to be a cheat night.
Okay.
It makes it a little easier. So Friday night's your cheat night, have the potato chips.
So, I just finished doing phase 1 of 75 Hard. Have you heard of this program before?
No.
What's Andy that? Frisella, he created this program because I guess he had this bet with a friend that he can get down to 12% body fat and he was overweight and he needed to do it in 75 days. So he created this program, arbitrary, didn't even talk to a professional as far as I know. And it's for 75 days, you have to do 2 45-minute workouts. One has to be outside. You have to drink a gallon of water, follow a diet, no alcohol, no cheat meals, read 10 pages of a book, and take a progress picture. And I did that for 75 days. I'm a skinny person. I don't need to lose weight. So I was like, I did it because it was a mental toughness program. And then 2 days ago, I finished phase 1, which is that for 30 days, plus like cold shower and stuff. And the point of my story being, now I can't even remember what we were talking about, but I was so stressed out doing it because I was so worried that I was going to miss checking something off to realize, oh, here's what I learned in this that I wanted to say is that I now don't like eating meat. And then I'm trying to how do I gain muscle then in CrossFit? Because I do CrossFit. So I don't like eating meat, but I realized that in those Friday night potato chips, I don't even want to do that anymore, knowing I want to feel good Saturday morning.
Yes.
My reward is feel good the next day, not a bag of potato chips.
But if you notice, it took you time to get here.
40 years.
Yeah. And so part of what we do is meeting the patient where they are. And so for some patients, the thought of living like this forever is overwhelming. That sensation that you felt about checking off for some people, just I can't do this forever. They look at me, and by the way, I used to be very, very overweight. And so they look at me and they're like, I can't live like you. And I'm like, I did not get here overnight. If helping you get here, for some of my patients, I'm like, just choose one night we achieve. And for them, now they're like, okay, I could do this for 6 days because on day 7, I'm going to go out with my partner and have my meal. And then they go back into it. What happens though, exactly what you said, is they go out, have a cheat meal. The next day they feel like ish. And so they do that sometimes once or twice, sometimes 100 times. And they finally are saying exactly what you said, which is, I don't want to feel like that anymore. And I'm going to skip that cheat meal. And now you're here. That is the goal to get here. But it's just hard for some people to go 0 to 60 like that.
Totally. I mean, I used to eat pizza, drink beer, and eat carrots when I was single. I literally had beer and carrots and 5-day-old pizza in my fridge. And then I would go out and play ultimate frisbee 2 or 3 nights a week. So I'm getting this intense workout in so I can justify the beer and the carrots.
And you could do the workout without falling apart.
Because I was also 24 years old back then. There is something about getting to that point where you realize you're on a good path energetically, you're sleeping well, you're feeling good because you got your supplements, your workouts, your food, where the thought of actually having those Friday night chips scares you.
Yes.
Because
it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. But you have to get there by experiencing it.
Yes.
But I also want to say something about, you said you're a thin person. And for those of you listening who are thin, my wife had her highest autoimmune issues when she was a size 0.
Tiny.
And so it's not about weight. It's not about weight in either direction, not if you're thin or not if you're heavy. It's about feeling optimal. So here she was, size 0, athletic, thought she was eating well, walking around with 2 crazy autoimmunes that couldn't be solved. And it turns out that what she was eating, which she thought was healthy, was actually really harming her, and she had to take that out. So if you're not feeling optimal, that's why I asked you how you feel, but to you, it actually made you stressed out, which happens to people. But if you're not feeling optimal, it could be in what you are considering in your healthy diet is not healthy for you.
It's true. That's a good point. Because I can have the cleanest salad and thinking everything on my plate is considered very healthy. But then I actually feel like I look like a bloated pregnant woman.
Yes. I can't eat salad either. I agree with you. Too much lettuce.
But I can eat pizza and there's never, ever an issue. As long as there's no cheese.
The new We Wild Women diet is now pizza, beer, and carrots.
Yes, don't do it. No. But, going back to like the whole like identifying as a certain way, like I loved how you say that being overweight is nothing about like, what do you look like? It's very serious, important health consideration. For me, I've always been skinny. It is just in my DNA. And when people kept telling me you're skinny, I've been doing CrossFit for 7 years and I've been going 4 or 5 times a week. I still have yet to be able to do a pull-up. And so when people are like, oh, being skinny must be so good. I'm like, it is so hard to gain muscle.
It is hard to gain muscle.
I'm 6 feet tall. There's a little bit more stretch that's involved. It's not a compliment. That's for me to say that I'm skinny. I would rather someone say, Renee, you got some muscle on that body. God, get there. But so we each have our own thing. And for me, it's like realizing, okay, this plate of spinach is actually not helping me. But to understand that of ourselves too. Like I had an employee who was extremely allergic to tomatoes. And then another one who couldn't eat green pepper. I'm like, but these are supposed to be healthy.
Healthy. No, absolutely. Right? I recently had a patient with extreme GI symptoms. We cleaned up her diet. There was really nothing left to remove diet-wise. We did a lot of testing. And then finally I said, listen, we're just going to have to spend the money to do like food sensitivity testing, which is not the same as food allergy testing. So you can't find it in regular labs. And it turns out that she was sensitive to tomatoes and spinach. I would never have removed that from her diet. Why would I ever consider those two as an option? When we removed it, she felt extremely better. So things that is generally considered healthy might be causing symptoms in a particular person. So if you're not feeling well, it's not a scale conversation. I mean, if people might be being like, Renee, this is a business podcast. Why are we talking about this? Because like I mentioned, Dr. E, before we started, is that if you're a woman in business, everything we talk about to help you to have better health, wealth, and relationships is important. And now I understand just why, other than being a very successful entrepreneur, you need to be on this show, is that foundationally, we as women need to optimize our health first before anything else, right? The health of your business starts with you.
Yes.
And there is a tendency for women in general, but certainly with female entrepreneurs, to put ourselves last. So by default as females, we put ourselves last. We take care of our children, our partners, our parents first, our house, how we look. All these things are always important before us. And then if we add a business on top of it, then we're got even lower in the important.
Screwed. So we're screwed.
Everything else, screwed, except for yourself. And then you are going to run out of steam. The wheels are going to fall off. And you may not feel it. I'm not wishing a health issue on you, but even mental clarity, brain fog, fatigue early on, decision-making fatigue, not being able to make decisions, right? So now you're trying to run this company, trying to get to your first million or more. And if you're not sharp, and all of this comes back to your health. So taking care of yourself is taking care of your business.
I like that. I mean, we could just keep talking. So I do have one last question for you, though, in all of this. When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that for you?
Well, you're asking me now versus when I was single. So it really changes. Now,
what is wild for you right now with all of your accolades?
Wild for me right now is thinking of a life without limits or borders. And that has taken some time, because if you're an entrepreneur, if you're listening to this, you have energy. you have this kind of unbridled energy and you have a vision and you're trying to put it into something. And that's amazing. But as I alluded to earlier, for women especially, we have these limits. Oh, I should only make $1 million. Oh, will this really take off? I'm not sure. Oh, they said this on the internet. They don't like my hair. You should read some of the comments that people put on my internet. But where I am now is understanding that all of that is meaningless. There is no limit to where you want to go. So whatever you're thinking, I said this to you when I said don't think small. Being a wild woman means not thinking small. It means whatever you're thinking about, not only can you do it, you can do it 10 times.
Yes. All right, Dr. E, this has been amazing. So if listeners want to go online to find you, follow you, or even sign up to become a patient, I guess, in the success story in the new method, where do they go?
Okay, so it's the new method, as I mentioned earlier, but the new is with a K. So the new method on every platform. So our website is New Method on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you go, I am there. And there's always a way to reach us. If you want to read my book, it's called It's Not in Your Head. Amazon has it. And I heard if you have like Kindle Unlimited, it's free. So enjoy that. It is not designed to make you money. It's designed to give you guys access to where to start before you start to find a provider. So go ahead and start there. So yeah, the new method everywhere.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time: the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.